So that's how I got into teaching. I got into teaching because I needed to find a school for my son. I was unsuccessful, and I was like, no, this is not okay.
Welcome back to Teacher Tales, where we give you the keys to overcoming teacher burnout to find work life balance and educational bliss, if it still exists. I'm your host, Tony Rambles, and on this episode of Teacher Tales, we interview Dr. O. She emphasizes realigning your mindset, support within education, and recognizing the ebbs and flows of teaching so that one is able to align their life accordingly. We've got a doctor in the house. Okay, Dr. O, welcome. Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
show.
Thank you for having me.
It's always fun when I meet new teachers, especially outside of my school, outside of my district, outside of my state. So you're chiming in from, I think it's Jersey, if I remember correctly.
Boston,
Boston, okay.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow. So got the Northeast in the house. Are you originally from Boston or okay?
I am. I'm originally born and raised here. I travel a lot, and I definitely pick up accents, so I'll throw them in there, if you need me to keep it entertaining.
I'm always intrigued with Boston, specifically because there's so much history there and just really in that region of the country where so much
Mhm.
of our nation, a lot of the influence has come from up there. So I'm always intrigued at how they integrate that maybe into the learning and into society. No, not at all.
No,
Oh,
sir. No, no. It's cookie cutter here. I mean, you're gonna pretty much get the same because I've traveled now and I've seen other schools. Yeah, our babies are getting the same information across the nation. And you're right. With Boston being so densely populated with all the universities and the history and all this, you would
mm-hmm.
think that we are getting that embedded in our curriculum, but it's not. Mm-mm. It takes a very creative and innovative teacher to make those connections to whatever is being taught within a unit and say, hey, let's do a field trip. And so I used to work with a science teacher, and she's a science teacher, but she would make these historical connections and had us out in Cambridge, right, at Harvard University, to enrich the students' experiences, right, their learning experiences. And that was super dope, but that's rare.
That's too bad. That's such a missed opportunity because when we can integrate the stuff that's going on in our society and the stuff that they may even see just driving around in regular life, that
Yep,
helps to connect the learning and it
that's
helps
right.
to kind of create some pride in where you're from and it helps
That's
it
right.
to stick. So if we're talking whatever lesson she's teaching on science and she drives past, I don't know, whatever historical monument or place up there, they may be able to remember that learning just because of that. But now we're
That's
getting all
exactly
off
right.
into
That's
that's the
exactly.
stuff that I
Well, let's
love
go ahead
about
and get off
teaching.
real quick, right? Because, like, literally, that's a student engagement strategy, right? So when you're talking about
Hmm.
the learning sticking, it's so important that we step outside of the box of our classrooms, right? Like, even if you do a field trip in the hallway, a field trip in the school, get your students out of the classroom and into different
Hmm.
spaces, to make the learning stick.
So
Hey.
I know you are out of education right now, but you were a teacher at one point. So what did you teach? How long were you a teacher? And did you have any other roles tacked on to your teaching role as well?
Sure. So I'm not out of teaching. I'm an educator for life. I'm currently just teaching the teachers, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. I stepped into a classroom for the first time in 2005. 2005. So I taught seventh grade math. And then around 2008, maybe 10, I stepped into the role as the grade level leader. So I was still teaching seventh grade math, and I was also leading the team. And it was there that I got my first taste at, like, being a teacher leader. From there, I want to say around 2017 or 2018, I became an instructional coach for the math department at a high school. So I moved schools. Um, and I was also a professor for a short time, so I worked with some pre-service teachers who were working on their masters, and I taught the math content course. And then from there, I became an instructional transformation coach, working with all the teachers across content in grade levels at the 6th through 12th grade in a high school. And so I supported art, I supported gym, I supported math, science, ELA, Spanish.
Yeah.
Um, and my focus has always been instruction, right? So like what are those instructional moves
Mm-hmm.
that you're making that are keeping your students engaged? Because whoever is doing the work is doing the learning. And so I helped a lot of teachers transition and transform their instructional practices from being like the teacher to being a facilitator of classroom learning experiences, right? It's like, all right, let's look at your planning. Let's find those places where you are going to turn it over to your students to do
Mm.
some independent thinking time as well as to do the thinking, right? So, like when you even go to consolidate the lesson, you want students to be answering questions, not just your questions, but have them, answer each other's questions or add on to
Mm-hmm.
what somebody has already said.
How do you think all of these different roles, and we've had a previous call about instruction and like that's our jam. We could we got
Yep.
to do a whole different session about just that.
Yep.
But
Maybe I'll
how do
invite
you
you to my
think?
show.
Hey, I'm down, always down to talk about instruction. How do you think your different roles has influenced how you um, teach teachers and how you look at the classroom and education as a whole?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the biggest thing that I have learned is that number one, we are all like working on something. We're all trying to get better at the thing. Um, Most of the teachers have come in wanting to like transform students' lives, right? The same way like I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
role where I want to transform teachers in their instructional practice and have them think differently, like transform their mindsets. Um, and they end up getting bogged down, right? They get bogged down with the state testing and school leaders who are, looking for more of like a checkbox thing, like compliance and performative versus
Mm-hmm.
like, am I effective? And so when I step in and I've stepped into this role and have been able to work with teachers across content areas and grade levels, I'm just seeing like we all have that common thread of really wanting to do a good job. And it's hard to do that when you don't have the support. So I think that that's what I've learned the most is like these teachers like we just want support. We just want to know like are we on the right track? Is there something we can be doing
Right.
better and how can I do it better? So I love going into a classroom and model teaching for a teacher because like it's one thing to say like, oh, do it like this. It's a whole nother thing for someone to see what you're saying. So I love stepping into classrooms with students that I don't know and like standing side by side with the teacher or having the teacher at the back of the classroom watching how I do the thing. And then we
Mm-hmm.
could talk about those moves. But yeah.
Because I have a mentee teacher and she's new to teaching, but she has all of this other experience. Shout out to Miss Sang, she's been on the show too.
Hey,
Uh,
shout
I'm
out.
like, bring that stuff with you to the classroom because the great thing about her experience is she teaches like animal science, all of the animal ag stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
She was she went to school for that stuff. She went into the field. She has done things that directly relate to what she's teaching. So I'm
Yes,
always telling her, bring your experience with you because again, like we talked about before, it helps to connect the learning.
that's right.
But also, uh, it's easy to, I guess, teach like we've been taught. So just stand at the front of the classroom, talk about this, this, and this, give a test, give a quiz, blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
so when I was in her class and she was like, this stuff that we're doing is just boring. I'm like, well, so change it. Like, what?
Yeah, don't
So
do
what we
that.
gonna
Don't do the
do?
boring stuff. If you're bored, imagine how the kids are feeling. That's right.
Exactly. So it was great to just kind of get in there and go, okay, well, what are y'all learning? Okay, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And some of it is just just throwing stuff at the wall during planning and going, a lot of times that light bulb will go off. You go, okay, I think that could work. Like I would want to do that. So how can we make it work? So now what's changed for you now that you have your own business and tell us about that and how it works.
Sure. So the Academy of Practical Application, I'm a K-12 instructional transformation coach. So I'm going into schools So a school leader might invite me in to do a workshop or to coach a team of teachers. And then I have teachers who reach out to me individually for one-on-one coaching. With my one-on-one coaching and my team coaching is typically virtual. But if a school leader calls me in to do a workshop, I can do like a one-off workshop, or I can do a series of workshops around a specific topic.
So did you always feel like you were going to be in the position that you're in now? Like, were there ever breadcrumbs to where you go, dang,
No,
I guess I was always meant to be a teacher? No.
no, no. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to homeschool my kids. I wanted like a trailer load of kids, five at least, and I wanted to homeschool them all and just be a homemaker. Um, I still have that dream, but I only have two children so far, and I'm getting kind of old, so we'll see. But no, like literally, so I had my son, and I couldn't find a school for him.
Mm,
And at that point, I think no, I didn't have my master's yet, but I'm informed, right? So I didn't go to school in the inner city. I was bused using one of those, whatever they call school integration programs. So I was bused to the suburbs. And so I was aware of some things, right? And especially about his educational foundation, which was me, of course. But then what? I didn't have the option of homeschooling him. So I was looking for the school and I couldn't find the school. And I had to send him to one of those school integration programs. And I knew that that wasn't going to be a good fit for him. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a terrible experience. So I was like, well, if I, being informed, am having a hard time finding a just right school for my child, imagine all the other
mm.
families who may be less informed. And I literally chose education for that reason. It's like, I can't just be out here complaining. I got to go try to be a part of the solution. I chose math because it's a content area that's underrepresented in terms of like Black females, you know what I'm saying? As well as people think that it's a hard subject. And it was hard for me, right? So I literally like, I put myself in the most challenging position because I wasn't great at math. And a lot of the math that I learned through teaching. Let me just put that out there right now. So I chose middle school, and when I got into the seventh grade classroom, I had to do so much learning in order to be able to
Mm.
teach. Yeah. So that's how I got into teaching. I got into teaching because I needed to find a school for my son. I was unsuccessful. And I was like, no, this is not okay. At least, these babies out here are going to be able to get a great educational experience through me because I knew I was coming with the fire. And I don't know where those
Yeah.
breadcrumbs came from because I've never thought pediatrician. It was like pediatrician, housewife, stay at home mom. Like that's it was never education. So I don't know where the breadcrumbs came from. Yeah.
Were you, I guess, as a kid, were you somebody that would like be teaching people stuff, or was a leader, or wanted to take care of people? No.
No, sir. I found my voice through educate through like, becoming an educator. I'm very shy, introverted, kind of awkward. I'm like on the periphery watching everybody do their thing. Like even when my family comes around now for, the holidays, I love watching everybody like hang out and laugh and, but I'm not the how they call it, the center of attention. Nope. It's calling me. It's
Mm.
this is something that's calling me. So whatever the past life cycle that I was in, whatever the universe is doing, it's calling me. And I'm saying that as well because I have tried to step away from it several times.
I feel the same way. I was doing an episode with somebody else who's also a teacher, and I was like, I don't think I'll ever not be a teacher. I may teach differently, like in different areas, but I'll always be facilitating learning in some way.
That's
I
right.
knew you'd
That's
like
right.
that.
Yes. Yes. Facilitate the learning experience, please.
How would you describe teaching in a classroom to someone who has never done it before?
I have this image in my mind, but I can't find the words for it. So the first words that came to mind was like you're orchestrating the whatever,
Mm,
whatever band, right? Like it's like an orchestration. I'm also thinking about a juggler, somebody juggling things, a multitasker. Teaching is the ultimate multitasking job, and you have to be so connected to your classroom environment and the people that are in
hmm.
it, right? You have to, like how your mom was saying, like, I saw you, I got eyes in the back of my head, or I
Yep.
got 20/20 hearing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to see, hear, and feel everything. And it's possible, right? It's possible if you were not so
Hmm.
focused on teaching the lesson. and you create space in your lesson where you can stand back and take the temperature of the classroom, it's
Mm-hmm.
possible to do this job really well, not overwork yourself so that you're not burning out, and give students the opportunity to do the heavy lifting, the heavy thinking, the heavy
Mm-hmm.
doing. It's possible. But yeah, I would say it's like orchestrating a multi whatever band, I want to say multi instrument band. And so hopefully somebody could throw in your comments what I'm really trying to say. I'm thinking about Yo Yo Ma. Is that the right name of the conductor? But yeah, yep, doing all the things, juggling all the things. Yeah, that's
So
right.
I'll ask this question. When you have these young people and sometimes older people who are teachers and they're struggling and they're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm about to quit. This is it. It's over. Like what would you tell those people? How would you help them to figure it out?
Honestly, I am happy to counsel people out of the classroom because everybody should not be in front of our children. Um,
Yes.
and I mean all children. I'm not just talking about the ones who look like me. Like our futures depend on it. If you are burning out and you haven't figured out, how you're going to make it better, and it's hurting you, it's killing you, then maybe you should leave the classroom. But for
Mm-hmm.
those who come to me, they're like, this is my calling. I'm supposed to be in the classroom and I am struggling. What can I do? First of all, you're my dream client, first of all. And it's like, well, let's talk about why you came into teaching. Let's start there. And then
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about what your superpower is. So earlier you mentioned like having those life experiences where the teacher that you're mentoring right now, like she's actually lived the job, right? The job that's related to the course that she's teaching right now. So like tell me your background. Are you doing
Mm-hmm.
that in your classroom right now? What brings you joy? So I counsel and coach the teachers that I work with to tap into their superpowers, right? What do you want it to look like? Okay, well, what do you think is getting in the way? Well, let's eliminate those barriers. Let me show you a different way of doing it. And by the end, we really just kind of give a lot of permissions. Like you were saying, permission to teach a joy filled lesson. Like if the
Mm-hmm.
curriculum is boring, don't teach it like that.
Mm-mm. Let's have
Don't
some
teach it
fun.
like that. Yeah, let's have some fun. You and your students will be happier. So yeah, but I will. I want to just say it again, so my little disclaimer can be out here in the world. I will counsel a teacher out of the classroom because if you're done, you're done, and that's okay. But if you
I
want to
had
stay, I got you.
I had somebody on, C Dub. I got an episode with her coming out. She said, and she was my principal at one point. She said, I'm gonna help
Hey,
you up or help you out.
that's right.
And she said the same thing, like not everyone needs to be in the classroom. Sometimes you be better as an art
That's
facilitator,
right.
an
That's
LSS
right.
LSSP, I think that's called.
Mhm.
Another a different You will be better in a different role if you want to stay in education. And maybe sometimes you tried to be a teacher, it didn't work, and it's time for you to leave. But
Yeah.
if you do want to stay and you have the potential to be really good, then I'm gonna help you be better. I
So
always
shout
loved her
out to that
phrase.
principal. Shout out to that
Yeah.
principal because we do not have enough school leaders who are thinking like that, who are leading like that, who are
Hmm.
coaching teachers. It's like I won't even go into it. Let's go to your next question because that will be a tangent.
Okay, before we get to the five W's, I got one more question.
Okay.
What surprised you most about being a teacher?
The lack of accountability
Ooh.
is killing me right now. It's killing me. There is no accountability. There is no accountability. Okay, we talk. Okay, so we're about to go on a tangent. I don't know how many minutes we have,
Let's go.
but so earlier we were talking, and we're talking about the teachers who are the testing subjects, right? Like all the state tests for science and math
Hmm.
and in ELA, English Language Arts, and the pressure that they feel. And
Hmm.
those are the teachers that are typically burning out. And I'm trying to figure out why, because I'm telling y'all, I did a dissertation and it took me 10 years because I love to read, I love
Wow.
research, and I read a lot of information. And we have been failing our young people for decades,
Mm.
for decades. So please stop telling me that your job is on the line. Your job is not on the line. So you can stop teaching poorly. You can stop teaching the boring curriculum. You can teach it from your heart instead of from this teacher's manual, and really expose the young people to the learning and the thinking that they need in order to be successful beyond your classroom. But yeah, there was no accountability. I was really surprised by that because I was struggling. There's no accountability, and there's also no support, or maybe not all of us are getting the support we need to be the teachers that our young people need, right? That was
Mm-hmm.
very surprising. I'll leave it there. That was very surprising. There was no one in my classroom saying, "Hey, you're doing that wrong. Here's a different way." So no, I think that we and a universal we, young people, right, have been the same for generations. I think what's different, maybe though, is the percentage, right? So I think back in the day when everyone was on the same page and it really was the village raising the children,
Mm.
um, especially before Brown versus Board of Education, and that's another dissertation, another tangent. Actually, I don't have to do the dissertation. Leslie Fenwick did the dissertation. She called, I think her book is called Pink Slip. She did the book. She wrote the book on it. So before Brown versus Board of Education, if we're just talking about black children, um, they were being taught by professionals because those professionals would go off and get their degrees, but then they couldn't get a job due to anti-black racism. So these professionals who are physicists and mathematicians and historians,
Mm-hmm.
They were teaching in the K-12 classrooms and leading the K-12 schools, because that was the job that they could get. And then Brown versus Board of Education comes in, and all of those people got a pink slip, right? The school leaders, the teachers, they
Mm.
all were let go in one way or another. And the people who came in were less qualified. And that's what we have going on right now. And so if if that's been happening for generations, then now we have a larger percentage of young
It's
people
watered
who are
down.
checking, yeah, who are checking out of school because the school experience is watered down, right?
Yeah.
But they're just reacting or responding to the conditions of schooling, right? Because they're not being challenged. So what are they being motivated to do?
Mm.
And I know that this is a fact because I'm telling you, when I step into classrooms and I see a teacher transform their instructional practices, how they think about what young people can and cannot do, the entire environment transforms. It's a whole different experience when you walk into a classroom and a teacher finally gets it. It's not the young people, it's us.
Mm. Wow. Slam the mic down. All right. Five W's.
The five W's. I'm interested in this.
So we got who, what, when, where, why. And I'm going to let you choose which W you want to do first.
Let's go with who. Yeah.
Who in education has helped you the most?
Who hasn't? Even my terrible experiences. But because I want to give something for your listeners to look up, Lorraine Monroe, she was a teacher and educator, I want to say in New York. Um, and she has the same philosophies that I'm spitting right here, right? I probably got them from her, that all young people can learn, that it's not the young
Mm-hmm.
people, it's us. Yeah, so Lorraine Monroe has been a huge influence. I never met her in real life. She's already transitioned. Um, but she opened a school as well because she couldn't find the just right school for her kids. And the students that she started with were the students who, at that time, I want to say it might have been in the 60s or 70s, were being labeled, right, and placed in special education. Their parents were like, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, they might be acting a fool in school, but they don't act like that at home. Like, what can you do for them? And
Mm-hmm.
and these babies have gone on to be like really successful. They actually have a documentary on YouTube about the young people who were in her class, her home-based school, because she opened the school in her home, and they went off to do like amazing things. It's not the young people, it's us. Lorraine Monroe. She's been a huge influence on me. But there are so many others. I can make a list. If we go Lorraine Monroe from back in the day, Zaretta Hammond right now, because her book, Culture Responsive Teaching in the Brain, has unlocked something for me that I share with teachers and school leaders every time I meet with people. And what she did is she connected brain science to
Mm-hmm.
this transformation that we as educators need to make, right? So, like, if we out here um, thinking that it's the young people who have the problem, right? Like, oh, they can't learn, they won't do this. She has written about the brain being plastic, right? The brain's plasticity. Like anyone can learn anything. And if your students are not doing it, it's because they've learned to be helpless, and you can help them learn to not be helpless. They can become independent thinkers and doers, and that's your
Mm.
job. So I love her book, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain. There were so many more. So yeah, yep.
We're gonna have to get a list to share out from you.
I would love to do that. I have one at the ready actually. It's on my website too. I do. I have a list. There's so many good ones out there. Yep.
Okay, which W do you want to do next? We got what, when, where, why.
I'm holding my 2-year-old. She fell asleep. You can just throw him out because my arms are so tired. You can just throw him out.
Okay, what's your favorite lesson to teach? It could be a classroom lesson, a lesson to teachers, things that you teach whenever you go in to consult. Your favorite lesson.
So it's kind of like my favorite thing to do is to facilitate a learning experience. And
Hmm.
I curate. So like somebody would give me a topic, and if they give me, the time to plan and prepare for it, I'll curate something.
Is there something that you tell every teacher, like one of your just favorite, I guess, sayings or like a rule of thumb?
Yeah. I give you permission. You have permission to
Boom.
do that differently. Yes. You are
I like
granted
that.
access to back to you, back to your heart, back to the thing that you love and you know is right and wrong. Because a lot of teachers, like I think the burnout is coming from being out of alignment with yourself. Like you know this
Hmm.
isn't working. You know, like the curriculum developers, they have the greatest intentions, but they have given you way more material than you will ever get through. Don't try to get through it all. Don't assign all those questions. Like yeah, you have permission to do it differently and do it the way you know it needs to be done. But please do use a curriculum. Please do not go on to Teachers Pay Teachers. Please leave Pinterest alone. Use a curriculum as you're basing your foundation and supplement. Thank you. We can talk more about that at another time, but yes, use a curriculum.
Okay, so we're gonna go with when. This is my favorite question to
Yeah.
ask.
Okay.
When did you begin to feel confident in yourself as a teacher?
Um, so it comes with the story. I didn't become confident as a teacher until I asked my kids what I was doing wrong, right? I had lost my voice twice. So the first year I lost my voice probably in September. The second year I lost my voice in October,
September? That's early.
September. And I was a yeller. Sit down. What do you think you're doing? I was a yeller, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was me. That's how I lost it. Doing way too much talking, carrying on, and I lost my voice. And so I came in that second year, the October that I lost my voice, and I wrote things on the board. I literally couldn't talk, so I was writing out the instructions, and the class was pin drop quiet. And I remember pausing and turning around and being like, why are you guys so
What is
quiet? They were
this?
so respectful. They were so empathetic. They were like telling each other to be quiet. Like she don't have a voice. They cared so much. It's like almost making me emotional thinking about it right now. So it was my second year of teaching, and I realized it wasn't the kids. It wasn't the kids. And these are real students. Listen, I went to school in the suburbs, but I taught in the inner city. These were real children. Okay, they were real kids. Okay, and by that I mean if you're not doing right by them, they will tune you out. They will like run their own program in your classroom. But when I lost my voice and I was kind of like dependent on them to kind of follow along with me, and I wasn't doing all that daggone talking, um, I realized that it wasn't them. So then I was like, y'all been in school long enough. They're seventh graders. Let me ask you, what
Hmm.
am I doing wrong? And I got their feedback. I said, so I have this as a handout if anybody if you want to like post this at somewhere. So the feedback questionnaire was something about their grades. How do you think you're doing? How do you think you do better? But then it went to my instruction. Am I talking too fast? Am I speaking clearly enough? Am I giving enough
Mm.
examples? What could I be doing better? things like that. Um, and they were so honest with me. They were so honest. They were like, yo, like, sometimes I'm too fast. I wasn't being clear about this. I'm talking too much. Like, they just let me know what it was. And so I
Yeah.
changed it. I said, go ahead, kids, coach me. Let me know what I'm doing wrong, could do better. And that's when I
Mm.
became confident. When I listened to my kids and I implemented the suggestions that they were giving me, we all got on the same page.
Right.
It's
Right.
giving me
It was a
goosebumps
vibe
because
then.
then it was a vibe. Exactly. And I've never done
Yes.
anything differently. It was because of them that I am the teacher that I am today. Because I listened to them, right? Because I was like, of course they would know what I could be doing differently. Yeah. And that's how I taught
Whew.
for the next what, 17, 18 years? Yeah.
Wow. I get goosebumps too.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, where? Where'd you see yourself 5 years ago? Are you there or did it change along the way?
5 years ago, we're in 2024, 2019. Ugh. Yeah. Not dreaming big enough. In
Mm.
2019, I was not dreaming big enough. Where did I see myself now? Uh, I'm far beyond where I thought I was going to be. Far beyond where I thought I
Yeah.
was going to be. Yeah. But that was once I came into alignment with myself, right? Like,
Mm.
um, and that was like on a personal level. But I feel like we as people need to bring ourselves into alignment on all the levels. Yeah,
Hmm.
especially in our personal lives, because our personal lives affects our professional lives. And I think if we're out of alignment in our professional lives, it probably affects our personal lives too. So just being in alignment. Um, but yeah, 5 years ago I was dreaming real small. And now yeah, I'm playing to win.
Yeah. Flair to win. I love it. Okay. Last W. Why do people quit education?
Because they're not supported. They come in thinking it's gonna be one thing. It's not that thing. They're not being supported. And they're like, for what? Like, why am I gonna sit here and bang my head against this brick wall?
Mm.
I don't think I'm being effective. I'm being made to feel like I could be doing more or better, but I'm not getting any support.
Mm.
In other careers, right, it may be easier, especially on paper, where you think that you're leaving your work at work, right? Teaching is 24 hours, mostly 24/7, mostly because you're still thinking about your babies, right? You're dreaming about them. Before the school year starts, you're going to have that back to school dream, right? So they're
Hmm.
always on your mind. And so that probably is why people are like, teaching is really hard. It's like 24/7. You do have your babies on your mind all the time, in a different way than some other fields. You can leave your work at home, but I think it's a lack of support.
Okay, last question. What advice would you give to a new teacher and an experienced teacher in how to create this work life balance in air quotes that we're all
Yep,
striving to have?
good. So there is no balance, right? It's not balance as in like seesaw or the balance scale. It's it's like seasons, right? So over the at the
Mm.
end of the summer into like the first couple of months of school, it's on and popping.
Yep.
And so once you recognize that um, there are going to be certain points in the school year where it's going to be intense, then you can plan for it and you can expect it. So the advice that I
Yep.
would give is to be aware of that. Be aware that there are going to be some periods, especially if you're a new teacher, it might be that first year or two where you're trying to figure out the curriculum and you're trying to figure out your teaching stance, right? Like, what kind of teacher are you? Are you,
Hmm.
do you have your teacher voice yet? Like, are you saying it with your chest? Do you know how to let a young person know, like, no, 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 not in here, right? Do you have that confidence with you? And that takes a little bit of time, but yeah, that's
Hmm.
the advice that I would give. Like, there are seasons or periods of the school year where things are going to be intense. Know it, accept it, plan for it, um,
And what
and it's
about
going to
for an
be okay.
experienced teacher who's been through those things?
Um,
Because I think a lot of
mm,
them, they have the experience, they kind of know the ebbs and
yeah.
flows, at least they should. But I think the burnout is where a lot of people are having their difficulties, where they feel like you said, they're not supported, or they can't do the things that they want to do. They're not aligned, in your words. So what advice would you give that teacher?
Stop working so hard. Stop
Mm,
working so hard. Nope. Like the kids need to be doing way more, and let go of the control. Because I'm finding these teachers who they're burnt out, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed because they want everything to be so perfect. They want the kids to get all the right answers. They want them to come in and like be
mm,
engaged when it's boring. It's like you're working too hard.
mm-hmm.
Identify what the objective of the day is or the objective of the unit is, and create a learning experience where the young people are doing the work. And all you're doing is circulating around, making sure that they are on task and asking questions to push their thinking. And I can show you how to
Mm-hmm.
do that, but you're working too hard. If you're burning out and you want to stay in the field, we need you. We need you. We desperately need good teachers who are dedicated and wanting to do this work. But if you're burning out, it's because you're working too hard.
Wow. We could talk for like another hour
I know.
easily. But
This
Dr.
is my
O,
topic.
thank you so much for coming on Teacher Tales and talking about burnout and quote unquote work life balance. I'm almost like getting away from that because, like you said, it's not a balance. It's seasons, like priorities, urgency, importance. But thank you so much for coming on, and we have to do it again. We must.
Absolutely. We absolutely should. I would look forward to it. And shout out to Teacher Tail. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed that conversation between me and Dr. O. She was amazing. There was so much of the conversation I had to like just cut out because I had to get the episode down to 35-ish minutes for you all. But she was great to have on. It was a pleasure, as I knew it would be. Before we get out of here, remember, the classroom is a collaborative effort. You may not be doing anything wrong, but you could be doing things differently to get better results with your students and colleagues. Also, seasons change. Expect it, prepare for it so that you're not caught off guard when it happens. Because you enjoyed what you learned from this episode, go join the Teacher Triumphs Facebook group. Me and my partner Jen created it as a way to help you overcome burnout and balance life by building community with other wonderful educators. Thank you for listening. Keep teaching, keep learning, and I will see you all on the next journey.